It was a piece of good news in a year that has seen the worst global pandemic in a century. The announcement that Pfizer partner BioNTech has developed a highly reliable vaccine is being hailed as the beginning of the end of the coronavirus. Also extraordinary is the story behind the Turkish-German couple who developed the vaccine. Let's take a look at this report. And joining me now from Brussels, Basak Yavcan. She is a senior researcher at the Hugo Observatory and at the University of Liege. Basak, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. How has BioNTech founders Uğur Şahin and Özlem Türeci's discovery of a very promising vaccine against the coronavirus resonated across Germany?
Well, that's a great question, actually. And in a lot of media channels, the issue has been celebrated, and it was a reason for great pride, of course, for the Turkish migrant community in Germany. There were some who did not do much to emphasize their migration background, but overall, it was celebrated widely.
Yeah, so with the success of Uğur and Özlem and more similar stories, let's say, like it, help push back against the far-right's messages that immigrants are hurting Germany as well as Europe?
Well, certainly this example, the success story is very important, and it's really affecting the entire humanity across the globe, not just Germany. And clearly, it's great to see migrants depicted as part of the success story, and without a doubt, it'll have a positive impact with the way they are perceived. But we need to be really cautious with the conclusions we derive from these success stories. And we need to remember that still there is a major media bias in all cultures, in all countries around the world for depicting migrants with lesser desirable traits, adjectives. And actually, as individuals ourselves, we tend to remember remember, more annoying experience. We tend to oversee a migrant, a hardworking migrant that we see in the street, but we tend to be very annoyed and irritated by one that's having a leisurely time with his friends, smoking or
Yes.
having tea.
So
So there are.
yeah, some argue, although Germans welcomed the news, some Turkish Germans cautioned that emphasizing too much on their success would show how rare such people are in Germany, and that many Turkish Germans haven't been as successful. Is there some truth to that?
That's a great point. And actually, there has been statistics about different migrant groups, and the Turkish migrant groups are known to be less performing with regards to the labor market integration and educational attainment. And some of this has been related to, actually, by migration scholars, to the historically discriminating institutions of the Germany somewhat. And also part of the reason why entrepreneurship among migrants is so popular is because the formal employment channels through working at a company, through recruitment by a company, is somewhat limited due to this discrimination. That doesn't mean it's everywhere, but it does exist. So in the case of these success stories, there are two potential issues with them. First, the existing of such cases should not serve as a disguise for societal and institutional challenges to migrant integration in the country. So in other words, this should neither be taken as a perfect integration in Germany, nor should it create an illusion that equal opportunities exist for all immigrants in the country. And the second issue is these role models are actually being exceptionalized by the host community, where we see either immigrants or minorities where stereotyping is really inevitable when two groups coexist within a country together, and some tend to stereotype more than the others. But it's not, if you have predispositions, if you have existing negative stereotypes regarding immigrants or a minority group in a country, regardless of how big of a success story it is, one story will not change it, and it will be taken as, oh, this is just an exception, because our natural gut feeling is to maintain our existing stereotypes. So we need more stories like this. But also importantly, that doesn't mean that in order to be worthy of living in this country, the immigrants should perform so well. They too deserve to fail. They too deserve to make mistakes. They can be unemployed if they cannot find a job, or they can be just average citizens. So I think we should think of it both ways. More good examples are good, but we should also not put that much pressure on an immigrant's shoulder to overachieve. And I think that's part of the reaction what we see in the Turkish communities based on.
So what kind of a role migrants play in German society generally? Do they, for example, tend to move up the social strata, or they're underrepresented in the top echelons of society? What's the situation now?
Again, there are examples of migrant integration into political life. As we all know, there are Turkish German members of the parliament with Turkish background, and or in local politics they actively engage in. They do establish businesses. They are very entrepreneurial, but that doesn't, again, mean that this is all the channels are open. And in general, for everywhere in the world, including Germany, it's more difficult for migrants, who tend to be more vulnerable, to move up the ladder. With the case of the migrants and refugees who recently arrived from their countries of origin, the issue of qualifications exists. The qualifications in the German system are not easily recognized because of its highly codified educational standards. So all of these prevent them from actively integrating into the employment market.
So when do you think it'll be safe to say that Germans with, let's say, foreign origins will be accepted as an integral part of the German society? And what do you, at the same time, make of the rising populism and xenophobic sentiments across the continent?
I think there will always be a diverse German society, and the German society will always have diverging views on the contribution of migrants and the integration of migrants. And part of the reason is that the issue is also very highly politicized. So politicians have a lot of benefit to derive from this. And it's an easy sell, to be honest, to point out to a failing immigrant, oh, you see how he or she is abusing our welfare state. This will always happen, but we have seen this repeatedly across Europe, but also in Germany. When we did have the Pegida movement protest against immigrants in Germany, you had the anti-protest against those Pegida people, anti-Pegida protests. So it's important to see these coalitions among the people, different groups of people, and also the immigrants being supported by many segments of German society. So I think this will be an ongoing issue, just the way they are cleavages of class, the cleavages of income or ethnicity. This cleavage of immigration will continue to exist, but I think once the obstacles to integration are lifted, and it is luckily a process that has been taking place. It's getting better and better in Germany.
It seems that the obstacles will remain to be there, but in the meantime, what could both countries like Turkey and Germany do to take better advantage of the unique resources of this transitional population?
Well, this transitional population is actually very important. In every country where you have these multiple groups, you see that the trade between the two communities flourish, the two countries flourish, the socioeconomic, cultural ties enhance, and you have multiple channels of connection between these two countries. So it's overall a very positive experience. But for the case of Turkey, the existing of German Turks is additionally promising and creates further avenues for improvement because Turkey now has its own migrant population as well, as the country hosting the highest number of refugees in the world. The 3.7 million Syrian refugees are going through a similar integration process. And this example, having lived through this example, having seen the mistakes of Germany and hearing from the experiences of the German Turks, will surely be informing the decisions made by Turkish authorities, but also hopefully create more of empathy with this group for the majority Turks.
All right, Basak, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.